A little over 2 years ago, we started a journey that today has culminated in the successful launch of SQL Server 2025. I want to take the time to personally thank so many different people, from our engineering team, to our product managers, to our marketing team, business planning, documentation, and especially all of you, the community. Really thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm so excited today that we've announced the general availability, and now the journey is successful. So thank you very much. Give yourself a round of applause. Thank you so much. So I don't know how in 45 minutes you can unpack what's new in SQL 25, but we're going to try. But you're going to want more. So here's some quick logistics for you. The deck that I'm using right now and other decks soon to be are on this site, SQL 25 decks. I've built a whole series of demos. You're going to see some demonstrations today in the deck, but I've got all the scripts for them. You can go to this site and get those demos today. And even though we're not going to take questions here in the audience, I will be afterwards available in the hallway to take your questions in person. But you online are saying, what about me? Well, look, they're right here. On December 3rd, we will do a live AMA on Reddit. So pay attention to that link right there and join our team live for an AMA. Maybe you have seen this term lately at this conference or another conference from Microsoft, data is the fuel for AI. But there's a big story behind this. What if you don't have quality, security, and scalability of that data? Is it any good to build AI apps? I hope you're going to see today for SQL 25, we can deliver these three things as we power data for you for SQL Server for AI. Now, you saw the general availability slide. I'm going to give you a slight twist because here's three things I want you to walk away from that is new in this release. AI is built into the engine. It is made and built for developers, the most significant I've seen in a decade, and it's mission critical for your needs. It's also connected to Azure and Fabric as well. So when you walk away today thinking like, okay, what is the value prop to upgrade to SQL 25? Think of these three things. And in fact, I generally build a slide like this to talk about innovations for us, whether it be AI being built in, and I'll explain what those icons mean, whether it's the new developer features for you, or being integrated into OneLake through mirroring. All powered on a foundation of our engine. Did you know there's some 40 plus new features actually in the engine? We talk a lot about AI, and I'm going to talk about it today for sure because it's brand new to you, but there's a lot powered in the engine, and we'll talk about that some today as well in this session. Consider that you can connect yourself with Arc and now have security through managed identity, go passwordless connected to Azure. You can use Managed Instance Link. We announced that with SQL 2022. It's available now in 25. Do bidirectional managed disaster recovery and hook yourself up to Azure. What about SSMS? SSMS fans, wow, SSMS 22 has just come out. Copilot technology is built in. It is well integrated and built for SQL 25. And we have always been the benchmark leader. We are proud about that. And we released some new benchmarks proving that we're still that price performance leader in the industry. And don't forget, SQL runs great on Azure VM. It runs great on Windows, Linux, containers, Kubernetes, wherever you need it, you can deploy SQL Server. So as you walk away and think about what's new in the release, think about these features. And that's part of what we're going to talk about today. But real quickly, for SSMS fans, I got to call this out. What an incredible job this team has done. A brand new version of SSMS. Yes, it has GitHub Copilot built in, but I just love some of the other features. I can't wait to try the new query hit recommendation tool, or even the new JSON viewer, and hey, Windows ARM support for you as well. So if you haven't seen the new SSMS, this team has done an amazing job. Again, well integrated for SQL Server 2025. But let's talk about AI built in. Like, what do I even mean by this? First, you need to find out what we're trying to solve for you. Like, why would I even consider this? We believe we can give you smarter searching on your character data. What I mean by that is it could be text data stored in the database. It could be data that's not text that you actually convert to text and feed to like an AI model to support a vector searching concept. We are not building an AI system necessarily. We're building building blocks for you to use AI models, and those AI models can run totally on premises or in the cloud or wherever you need them, and you'll see later today why that is. And most importantly, we think it's secure and scalable. Why is that? We're using T-SQL for everything. And T-SQL means we can use the SQL security model to allow access or control access to all of this technology. So what are the features? So first of all, we've become now a vector store. Why buy a separate vector database? Just use SQL Server now, which you trust already, as your vector store. A new type, a new index. Model definitions to allow you to access these embedding models anywhere you need them. We don't store AI models in SQL Server. We actually allow you to access AI models through a model definition. And then rich T-SQL to help you chunk your text data or even generate embeddings and store them into the vector type. And then we need to go search for your data. We allow precise searching with vector distance or approximate searching with a vector search based on your index. And then as developers, you want to make sure that SQL is well integrated with frameworks, whether it be LangChain, Semantic Kernel, Entity Framework Core, or even the new agent framework from Microsoft. So with these features in mind, I'm an architect, so I got to talk about some important things. Like, first of all, security. Did you know somebody came to me when I was presenting this, like, I don't know, several months ago and said, hey, how do I turn this off? I said, guess what? It's off by default. So did you know you must enable using AI first as an administrator? And then you have complete control as an administrator of all of this through SQL security. All of your models can run totally on premises or in the cloud. Wherever you need to run them, again, you control access to all of that. And then consider you can still use important security features, whether that be row-level security, dynamic data masking, or even the fact that the models we're using are using encryption behind the scenes. Any data exchange is all encrypted with these models. And then don't forget about this. If you've not SQL Ledger before, which we announced in 2022, you could build like immutable agentic operation logs so you can make sure you track how are you interacting with AI models. Well, as an architect, I got to build an architecture diagram. So consider the black dashes like the isolation model of your virtual machine or computer, and the blue dashes like the isolation of the SQL engine or your data. So here's the 5 steps on how you're actually going to go do vector searching. Number 1, you're going to declare a model definition. And this is where it gets a little bit wonky. Like, Bob, what kind of models can I use? Well, you can do something like this. First of all, you're going to tell us the API type, and we're going to give you instructions on how to go do just that. These API types can be sorted in 4 different ways. Number 1, it could be locally available inside the VM, but not inside SQL Server through REST. Like 𝗲𝗲𝗀 is a very popular one, or NVIDIA. NIM containers could be done for that. Or it could be on a network. Let's say you're like in your data center. You can have models stored on another server somewhere, and we can easily access them the same. It's the same type of model definition, just you got to tell us where to go get the models. Again, these popular API types give you access to these. It could be in the cloud. So you could use Microsoft Foundry, for example, to actually go access models. And I got an example to show you how to do that. And then finally, you may not have seen this one before, you could bring Onyx models down locally to the file system and use our extensibility framework. Again, isolated from the SQL engine, but still running in the VM. So we believe we've given you this flexible model definition to support any need you actually have. And it's very easy to declare these things. We'll show you in T-SQL how to do that. So what do you do next? Well, you're going to go take those model definitions, give us the name of a model, point it to your data through like T-SQL commands, and generate these embedding numbers and store them in this vector data type. Now what do? Well, you can optionally build a vector index on top of the type. We've got a new T-SQL syntax to do that. Now what you could do is take like a prompt, a natural language prompt, send it to like a stored procedure. Your procedure could generate an embedding for the prompt, and now you can use our T-SQL code, we do all the work for you, to compare the numbers. That's what we call a vector search or similarity search. Now here's where SQL shines. You already know how to search data already with SQL Server. So combine now your vector search with other criteria, whatever that looks like, and that's going to form what we call a hybrid search. These are the 5 steps you'll be doing to go support this new searching technology. Well, let's see a demo of how it actually works. So consider an application like AdventureWorks, like a kiosk in a bicycle store, right? And for their English customers, look at that kind of phrase right there, like pillowy, buzz. I'm not really a bicycle person, but that's kind of what they would talk like, right? So the results could come back like this from that kind of search using vector searching. Or maybe you're actually going to let your French customers do the same thing. Put it all in French, display the results in French. Like, do I have to build multiple applications to support these languages? How am I going to do searching based on that kind of natural language searching when those words don't exist in my data? In fact, you could try to do it with something like this. This is going to fall down, like clauses, even contains in full text search, even free text, which was an earlier attempt at this semantic searching. It's just not going to give you the results you need. So let's look at 5 steps on how to do this. Back to our architecture diagram. Number 1, here's an example of a model definition. I've employed 𝗲𝗀𝗀, a free service on my laptop. I've got an endpoint for 𝗲𝗀𝗀, and I've got a model that I've downloaded here. That's as simple as the syntax gets. You're not putting the model in SQL Server. You've deployed a model. You just tell us where to access this. So once I do this, we store this in a system table. So you can easily go find out what models exist in my system. And an admin has to control who has access to do that. Now here's an example of a T-SQL command to do a test. Let's just do a quick test to make sure these embeddings work. And we'll talk about these numbers in a second, like what are these numbers? So that's step one. Step two, let's go and actually go create a table with a vector type. So here's a table I built for my products. It's like a join table. Here's an example of the vector type, and I knew that number, those 1024, because the model definition told me. Then look at how easy this is. Insert select, using T-SQL functions built into the engine to store the embeddings, and then here's the results of the embeddings. This is like a join to figure out my products and embeddings. Important point, you do not know what these numbers mean. You don't care, but they're the key to all of this. The AI model system, the embedding models, they know what those numbers mean because those numbers, those floating point numbers, relay the semantic value or meaning to your text. Now, it looks like it's just a bunch of text here. We actually store this as a binary floating point number arrays inside the system itself. So don't think that we're just storing a bunch of text, but they come back that way from models, and we convert them and store them in a binary format. So I've done a model definition. I've generated these numbers. I put them inside the table. Now let's look and see what it looks like to do a vector index. This is the syntax for this. Using our disk and technology, we even support parallelism. So I can create this index on top of that vector type. And this is very interesting. When I did this, I thought, how big are these vector indexes? Look how small it is. The vector indexes are not large because they're pointing to all these vector numbers themselves in your actual database. So with that in mind, what do I do now? I'm going to build a stored procedure to access and do vector searching. I'm going to take in a prompt from the application. I'm going to add other criteria to power that hybrid search. Then what I'm going to do, this is where I'm going to use this T-SQL function to generate the embedding for the prompt. So what do I have now? I have a number, a set of numbers for the prompt. Now I can take those numbers and use the T-SQL vector search function to compare the numbers from the prompt with the numbers in the database. We do all the math for you. We just do this inside the system using cosine algorithms. So that's great, but what I want to do is use other where criteria like that stock level. Here's an example where I do joins back in the rest of the table and other where criteria. So now I have a stored procedure that I could feed to that application I showed you. What do the results look like? Let's see an example. Let's take that natural language phrase from the kiosk, feed it into a stored procedure, and see what it looks like. And I lost the feed. Oh, there we go. Whoa. Sorry, lost the feed to my system. Let me go back and display that. I don't know what happened there. Let's go back here. Luckily, I know this stuff. Okay, let's see here, here. Oh, go back here. Okay, let's see what it looks like. So here's an example of taking that natural language search, feeding the procedure, and getting back the results. It looks pretty good. And there's a problem in here. I got French as a result from the English phrase. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting all English. As it turns out, the embedding model I use is not fully optimized for multiple languages, even though I have multiple languages in my database. So let me flip over and show you how to use Microsoft Foundry to do the same thing. It looks like the same model definition, right? But I'm pointing to a URL in the cloud for my embedding model. In this case, it's called embedding large. I've got a credential, which is either an API key or a managed identity. And this is actually pretty simple here. I just have a new table. I need to create a new one for that new type because that particular model supports different dimensions. I'm going to use something called half precision in this case. So I've got that table in place. I got my model definition in place. All I need to do is go back and do another insert select to regenerate embeddings using the new model that I had, which is optimized. I put a vector index in place. I just have to touch my stored procedure to point to this new model for that prompt generation, and then I can rerun it. And now the results look a lot better. I'm using a different model now that's going to give me better results that's designed for multiple languages. And I could even take that same phrase that I showed you in the app in French and run it and get results in French. 5 steps. Model definition. Generate embeddings to a vector, sort of vector type. Create an index. Create a procedure. Run the procedure. That's all I need to do to power an application like this. It is so powerful, and you can see now it's all built into the engine. And secure, and we're using the query processor to drive this, hence the scalability. I thought you might enjoy this, though. These are examples of other API types. This is what an OpenAI compatible model looks like. This is a model from Google, and it can run an 𝗦𝗲𝘀. So I'm running that same service, but it specifically supports OpenAI compatibility. When you look at these models, it'll tell you what kind of compatibility they have. And then finally, here's an example of Onyx Runtime. This is a local model I've stored in my file system that I can access. Do you see the similarity of the model definitions where you're just changing models, the location, but the same functionality in T-SQL to power all of this? Now, it's one thing for me to go build all these things, but let's go talk to an actual customer that's really done this on an actual solution. So I'd like to invite Sirjad on stage here from Avante. Go tell us a little about what they've done. Sirjad, how are you? Good. Thanks for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, let's talk a little bit about what Avante is, what kind of solutions what kind of challenges does your business have? Tell me more about your business.
Absolutely. We are a global brand serving in 149 countries. We have got 3,000 Avanteans helping to drive.
Avanteans, I like that.
Avanteans, we call it as, that's our employee base.
Yeah.
They help to innovate as well as drive customer success. We work with over 7,000 partners that helps to extend our global reach and make an impact in the market. We've got 34,000 customers who uses our solution and trust in our solutions. We make about over $1 billion in ARR. So that's about the sort of company profile. Now, when it comes to the solution, what we do is we help customers, we help to manage customers' IT infrastructure. So starting with discovering assets, be it physical assets, virtual assets, digital assets, all of those, we help to discover, then manage end-to-end the complete lifecycle management of the assets, starting from provisioning all the way to decommissioning. We also help to secure those assets using our security solutions. And finally, we help to service those assets using our enterprise service management platform. When it comes to our relationship and partnership with Microsoft, we have a very long-standing partnership with Microsoft. We are one of the largest ISVs in the software and digital platform organization. So that's a high-level overview of who we are as Avante.
That's awesome, Sirjad. So I started playing a little bit of a video that you gave us that talk about a solution or set of solutions you've built.
Yep.
Like, what is this solution and kind of how did you build it?
Absolutely. So SQL Server plays a major role in this particular solution, right? When it comes to our core architecture, we use SQL Server as our persistent layer. Now, you talked about AI, and we also wanted to enable AI into our solution. Now, when it comes to AI, as you know, and you talked about it, vectorization and embedding is essential for us to enable AI-based capability into our solution. So this is where we kind of evaluated multiple tools or solutions that are out there. We started with Elasticsearch. We ran into some complex issues, especially with indexing and data movements. We then evaluated products like ChromoDB, Pinecone. Unfortunately, we had a set of challenges with respect to data privacy and security and so forth. But then finally, we ended up going with SQL Server because the moment we came to know about SQL Server 2025 offering the vectorization and embedding support, there were no second thought. We decided to work with your team and then started evaluating, and then the rest is history. By the way, congratulations on the SQL Server 2025 GA today.
Oh, thank you.
That's a great moment. I know many of you have participated in the pilot program.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of enthusiasm online, so congratulations on that.
Thank you, Sirjad. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. That's awesome. What I love about your story is you came to us. You're like, hey, I really kind of like what you guys have built. Can we talk more about it? We're like, would you come talk to our customers at Ignite? Because you just have a great story. Tell me a little bit more about why SQL Server. I mean, what are some of the aspects of SQL 25? You compared it to a couple other databases. Like, what really stands out for you? And like, if somebody's listening in, like, why did you choose this solution?
Yeah, so like I started in the beginning, right? We use SQL Server as our persistent layer. So we store, structured data, unstructured data, transactional data into SQL Server. Now with, coming to storing vector data, right? If you use an additional, if you bring in an additional vendor into it, you are actually introducing additional complexity into your architecture, right? With SQL Server supporting vectorization, I call this as SQL Server now becoming a unified data platform for us, where we completely eliminate the silos, right? And everything is stored in one single data store, right? So it helps to eliminate additional complexity into our architecture, reduces the cost. Above all, it helps us to really accelerate the pace of our innovation, which is what our customers are looking for.
Well, I love the fact you just said that you're unifying now. It's almost like centralized vector searching, centralized
Everything.
functionality.
Yes.
Yeah. So what does the future look like for you guys? If you think about, this is really cool, some of those things you just showed right here.
Yeah.
Where do you see the future heading for Avante and use of SQL Server?
Yeah, so some of the capabilities that we have built, and I think you see it on the screen, right? So ours is a highly customizable platform, right, where customers use it for not only for out-of-the-box functionality that we offer, but they heavily customize it, right? This is what predominantly enterprise service management platforms do. So we have built features like starting with AI-enabled search, right? Every customer these days, the expectation is the search has to be Google-like.
Right.
So in order for us to do that, vectorization and embedding played a key role in that. We also built an AI-enabled conversational interface for building dashboards and reporting, right? For admins, it's pretty complex for them to build reports using our existing solution because you need to know how the objects and its relationships are constructed. This is not something anybody can do it. It's a power user job. Yeah. Now, that's no longer the case with an AI-enabled conversational interface, right? Everything is prompt-based. You just give a prompt as an input, and then it kind of generates the reports for you, right? The third one is it's a low-code, no-code platform, but still there is a learning curve. So we have a functionality that is coming up right now. We call it as text-to-code. So basically, it allows customers to use, requirement in simple English text, right? And it kind of generates the code for you. The last one is we're working on an agentic AI-based conversational bot that helps customers or end users to proactively solve issues without needing assistance from the IT admins. So all of that, SQL Server 2025 is powering all these functionalities. So thanks to your team and the entire Microsoft team for working with us and making it happen.
Sirjad, thanks for being a great partner coming on today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your story. So I'm excited today to round out our discussion on AI to announce to you a new certification. Everyone's been asking for a SQL certification for a long time. We have a new one coming. So take a look at Learn SQL AI coming next spring, a SQL AI database certification for you, powered by Microsoft. I am so excited for this thing to launch, for everybody to go see this. So take a look at our new certification. So I don't know if we could chant this together, like developers. I don't know. I can't do Steve Ballmer, right? Who could do Steve Ballmer? I'm not sweating enough, I guess, right? Seriously. We have poured in what I believe is the most significant set of releases for developers. That's why it's built for developers. Start with Data API Builder. If you've never seen this before, it's not specific to SQL 25. It could change the way you do development. Hey, finally, a new JSON native data type and an index and a set of functions. I'll show you a demo of that. Regex and T-SQL. When I first announced this, I got two reactions, weeping in the aisles or people going, finally. So do all of your now regex pattern matching inside the SQL link yourself. There's a whole library there. It's not just one function. There's like several functions. A replacement for change data capture, an optional replacement. Start doing event-driven programming now using change event streaming, capture log events, and push them up to Azure Event Hub. I'll show you an example of what that could actually look like. And then finally, I have a very interesting demo to show you here. I want to tell all of you as a SQL professional in this room or watching online, I'm going to start teaching you how to be a new database developer and upgrade your skills. And I can't wait to show you what it means to use REST API to build AI agents. Like, AI agents? What are you talking about? Hey, there's a new GitHub Copilot and MS SQL extension. And if you're a Python developer, a brand new Python driver for SQL Server you can try out. Okay, let's talk about JSON. You've had JSON since SQL 16, but it was all character-based. Now you can store up to 2 gigabytes per row of a native JSON type, and it has a modify operator built into it. A JSON index on top of that, an array of new functions. The result? Less space. Less space is like, why is that important? Well, guess what? Less I/O and page reads, because your JSON data will take up less number of pages in your database. Let's look at an example of this. So this is just an easy example to get started. Got an orders table, got a key as an ID, and JSON will be like the order details all in a JSON document. Now this insert looks like, well, I could do that before, but we validate the JSON now. So on insert, we're going to make sure those are valid JSON documents because we're putting that into the type. Well, what do you do with this? You could do something like this. You could just go back and get the account numbers inside the JSON doc with the key, and you could just dump those out in result set. Or you're like, I just want to see all the JSON in documents per row. So each row will be dumped out as an entire JSON document itself. Well, that's not all that interesting. What I'd rather do is aggregate all of this, maybe aggregate this back as one entire JSON document. Yeah, you could take the entire table and say, give me all my JSON back as a single JSON doc. JSON developers love key value pairs. So I could do this. I could take the ID, attach that inside the order info as part of the JSON document, and bring back a JSON that has key value pairs. Very popular programming mantra for JSON developers. Well, one thing you could do also is modify JSON directly. You used to have to actually kind of like convert these things. So what I can do is use the new JSON modify operator. So here, I'm going to go pull out what are the quantity values of my JSON documents in my results. But look at this. I can just go modify a specific value in the JSON doc directly. You used to have to convert that back and forth. Now built in because we're using the new JSON native data type. Well, what about JSON indexes? So here's like a contact database. And in there's a contacts table. So you have an ID integer again, and a JSON document that's like all the details of these contacts, including like nested tags inside here. Now what I did is I put some examples in here, and then I'm like, you know what, I want to crank up the volume. I'm going to put like 5 million JSON documents in here. Now why am I going to do that? Because I want to go do a query like this without a JSON index and see what happens. So let me go run this thing. This is going to take about, I don't know, 3 seconds or so. And you're like, well, Bob, that's pretty fast, actually. Well, you know what? It's because we're doing the horsepower parallelism to make it that fast. If you were controlling max DOP here, that would not take that fast. What's a better way? Well, we can go put a JSON index on top of the document like this. Include this option called optimize for array searching. So I can create my JSON index on top of my document, go back with the index and run the same query, and I can totally avoid those parallel scans. Why is that? Because we can use the JSON index to seek down into the JSON documents itself. This took like a second or less, and if you go look at the plan, no parallelism, and a new JSON index seek operator down into your data. This is just the tip of the iceberg for you to go look at. How can I use JSON now and put like NoSQL data into my relational database? Okay, change event streaming. For those of you today that use change data capture, it's been around for a while, and it is a very popular solution. There's a few problems with it, though, that people have noticed. So consider a company like this that needs to support a shipping solution. What do I mean by that? Well, they could supply orders from their application. They feed back a ship date from the shipping company, and if it's a very lengthy date, not happy customer. So what are they going to do about this? Well, they could try to go process this all inside the SQL engine, but why not do all the processing to help expedite shipping outside the engine, like this. I'm going to turn on change event streaming for my database. Now, instead of a pull operation for CDC, it's a push operation. I'll still look at transaction logs, committed transactions, but the engine will push those changes to Azure Event Hub. And it's IO-less. We don't have any system tables anymore for this. We're just pushing streams of data to an Event Hub. And it doesn't require SQL agent. It's all built into the engine now. So a much more efficient solution now to do something like this. Take your order changes, feed them to Azure Event Hub. Then build an Azure function, and believe me, I've done it with Copilot. You can build an Azure function, trust me. You don't have to be 𝗦𝗽𝗻𝗀𝗧 to go build an Azure function. You can do it. So you build an Azure function, you receive those changes from orders, then it gets interesting. You could go build an AI agent with Foundry, push these orders over to the agent if there's a shipping problem, and let the agent asynchronously contact the provider, try to resolve the shipping, or maybe choose a different provider, and then go update the ship date for your customer. All asynchronously processed, and it doesn't affect the operational part of your database. This is what's possible now in a new world of event-driven programming using change event streaming. Okay, let's get a little crazy. Let's up your skills. If you today see application developers contact REST services through apps, you can now do that yourself inside SQL. So you can securely avoid round trips using a REST endpoint. So here's a tip for you. If you're gonna go do this, first of all, go find out what endpoint you're gonna go use for REST and what's the protocol for it. And here's your friend, curl. Never seen this before, to go send. And here's your better friend, Copilot. Hey, Copilot, go build me a REST call to go to this REST service. Here's like the protocol for it. Well, this is what happens. We have this stored procedure that we started building into the cloud for you a few years ago, and we discovered this could serve you well in SQL Server itself, whether it connects to a cloud service or connects on-prem. So here's some basics for you. Number one, you need a REST endpoint, local or remote. And if you're using a REST service, you can find out that information from who built it, or you can find maybe if it's online. And then this is the crucial piece, what's called the payload. That's the protocol. That's like the data you're going to send to something, right? If it's, say, it's a post or something of that nature. Then you have credentials typically, like API keys or tokens, or even now for Azure Managed Identity, using Entra and Azure Arc for SQL 25. And then the response is going to come back from this REST endpoint as a character, often as a JSON document, but you got native JSON type now to process those. So let's look at an example. Oh, by the way, my CSS in me came out to me. I was like, if you run one of these things and you have to wait on the endpoint, what does it look like? It looks like that wait type, HTTP external connection. So if you as an administrator ever see these wait types, you'll know somebody is contacting a REST endpoint. Okay, quick example of what this looks like. So let's say you may have seen this example show up in demos that we've done here already at the conference. I just did one, actually in a Arun session. So you may be wondering, how do I do that generate care plan part? Like, how does that work behind the scenes? Well, what I showed in a Arun session briefly was a stored procedure that looks like this. So imagine the app calling this procedure right here. It's going to send a prompt to support a vector search. It's going to send a JSON doc, because we support JSON for all the patient details, and an ID. And it's going to get back, look down here, a care plan JSON. That's the document sent back to the app. What is going on behind the scenes to make this work? First of all, I could do the vector search through another procedure like I just showed you earlier to take the prompt and get a vector search. Well, that's great. What do I do now? So what I can do here is I can go in and take the vector search results, and then this is what I call prompt programming. You may have heard prompt engineering. You're going to go through and build system prompts and user prompts to talk to like a deep thinking model. And you're asking yourself, Bob, how did you build that? I use Copilot. I literally said, I've got GPT-OSS, I've got a medical situation with a care plan. Give me an example prompt to do something like that. I tweaked it. I talked to some medical professionals. But you are now doing programming inside REST without actually writing an app. You're doing it all in T-SQL now. So you're going to send this prompt through these results to the model. How are you going to do that? Well, this is where you're going to use that stored procedure. And here is the key. You're going to take that payload, which is all that stuff I just sent, call the procedure, and you're going to get back this response. This is the other part of programming inside SQL now. You have to understand, what does the response look like? Well, if you go look at the documentation for these models, they will show you what the response looked like. But in this case, the result itself was what I already told the model through an instruction. Give me back a JSON document that looks like a care plan. So in the end, you can see down here, that's the final result that I'm going to send back to the app. I am trying to help you open up a whole new world for your skills where you could go build AI agents with T-SQL all inside the SQL Server engine, now using built-in REST support. Okay, so Bob, this is great. AI, I get it. Built for those, I get it. I'm an engine person. Bob, you're an engine person. Aren't you going to talk about the engine? Yeah, I got 10 minutes. I'll do it. We have other resources for you, though, as well, to go learn more about the engine. But I love this. Did you know there are 40+ new features? I think I mentioned that earlier. I was concerned when we first were planning SQL Server this release. Are we going to have any engine features in this release? Because we're focusing on AI and developers. We do. We have a lot. Let me call out some of my favorites and show you some fun demos. So if I start right to left, the SQL Server engineering team that owns availability groups poured their heart into ensuring that availability groups are now more resilient, fail over faster, and are tuned and run faster itself for you with more diagnostics. So if you run AGs, take a look at what we put in here. I think you're going to like it. We have new backup enhancements, like a new backup compression algorithm, backup on secondary replicas, and even a backup for Azure Immutable Storage. We still focus on performance. We've got CE feedback enhancements, column store enhancements, and we finally have put in production now query store on read replicas. But my favorite part is this improved concurrency story for optimized locking, something called abort query hint, and TempDB resource governance. Because I have this theory. If you're more concurrent, you're faster. So let me take a second now and go through a couple examples I think you'll like. Better concurrency, faster. Okay, no one likes lock escalation. Developers don't have to worry about lock internals. So check this out. Let's say I've got a blocking problem. And I see it right here by looking at these DMVs. I am blocked. One query's blocking the other. Why? I'm like, oh, there's a table lock on the whole table. Somebody must have done something to block the whole table. But as it turns out, somebody did an update of 10,000 rows at the front of the table. Well, why is that blocking everybody? Because we escalated to a table lock from that update. That's just the behavior of SQL Server today. We're not going to go update and keep 10,000 locks around. So, okay, my maximum update is blocked, but it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be affected by those 10,000 rows. That's not good. This is a typical problem for blocking because of lock escalation. So along comes a new option in your database called optimized locking. You're going to turn this on, and once I enable this, I'm going to go back and run the exact same scenario, and I'm going to show you that we're not going to be blocked and explain why. So here's the update of the 10,000 rows. That's great. Here's the max. Like, Bob, what voodoo is this? You did 2 updates now. They're not blocked. You're not having a lock escalation. What are you doing? We have a new concept called a transaction lock. So this feature requires accelerated database recovery, which has row versioning built inside the tables. Turns out, when we use this feature, we have something called transaction IDs per version. So now we can lock the versions. We can lock the transactions. And provided that you're not going after the same transaction, you won't block each other. So when you see this new exact lock, you will know that now we are now using this feature. So how do you get all of this? Because there's another feature called lock after qualification, even adding on top of this. Here's the summary for you. Number 1, you turn on accelerated database recovery. Number 2, you turn on optimized locking. And number 3, you turn on read committed snapshot. When you turn those 3 features on in a database, you don't have to change any code, and I promise you, your application will become way more concurrent. I've had customers ask me, I'm concerned about turning on accelerated database recovery. Now, they had issues in SQL 19 with this feature, I told. We fixed all that stuff in 2022. I really encourage anybody listening online, anybody here, contact me. If you're trying to use that feature and it's not allowing you to run in your system, you're blocked by anything. I believe, and by the way, all these are on the cloud by default. So we have customers running in Azure right now that have all the stuff on default, they're running great. But I totally get you're conservative when you're making these choices. But if you put these 3 features on, you're going to become more concurrent. Okay, let's look at another example and have some fun with the guys in the cube. So let's say TempDB has exploded out of growth like this. Like I set it to like 512 meg and it's all over the place now. Why did this happen? So let me go look at something called TempDB session usage. You've seen this before. There's an app called Guy in a Cube. Those guys, they don't write good queries, those guys. So what happened here? And it's all internal objects. So let's go run it. Oh my gosh, they're ordering by description table. Look what's happening here. You have spills into TempDB. So what are you going to do about this? Well, first of all, you're going to call the guy in the cube and say, what are you doing on my system and why are you running these crazy queries? And they're like, you can imagine Patrick Labot going, Bob, I do what I want. I write great queries. I'm like, okay, Patrick, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to use the new TempDB resource governor option. I'm going to turn that on. I'm going to say anybody in that workload group for users who don't know SQL, get only 100 megabytes of TempDB space. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go take their logins without their knowledge and put them in that workload group. So now, when they connect and try to run a query, they now get 100 megabytes of TempDB. That's it. So what happens to them? Well, we'll go over and run their query here, and oh, they get out of space. So they're going to come to me and say, we're out of space. What are we going to do? I'm like, we need to improve your query skills, obviously, right? So this is a great way now for you to control uncontrolled TempDB usage in your system. And I can see now that they're set now at that great 100 terabyte limit, and boom, my TempDB is not out of control. So if you happen to see Patrick and Adam around the conference, tell them they need to write better queries, but Bob has a solution now to control their TempDB usage. Okay. Here is the funnest, maybe best announcement I get to make at this conference. I hope you saw the news. We spent a lot of time poring over this and thinking about this. We are proud to announce today new changes to additions to help you with SQL Server. 50 gigabytes now as a max database for SQL Express. Standard edition getting a bump up. 32 cores, 256 gig of RAM, and Resource Governor now available now in standard edition. And in addition to that, if you're a developer, we have now a standard version of Developer Edition to help you test out your application. This is one of the most exciting things that I think we've done. And look at the upper right-hand corner. We made a conscious decision to make no pricing or licensing changes to give this to you. So thank you so much for your patience over the years. Finally, this has landed. Thank you so much. Well, as we conclude today, I don't know about you, but what if you put all this together? This is not just your engine anymore. You have a whole new possible data platform architecture you can put together. Whether it's improving your availability groups, whether it's using new vector searching, whether it's building AI agents with REST, AI agents with change event streaming in the cloud, using managed identity for security, using mirroring, or using all this technology on the other side to build new types of applications. We believe SQL 25 has a brand new data platform for you. If you're sitting on, say, SQL 16 today and your end of support is near next year, you're asking yourself, should I do this upgrade or not? Look at what's now possible for you to do. You don't have to do all of this. You could choose some of this and build on it. So we believe, and I believe deeply, that a new architecture is waiting for you. We love our customers and partners. Every single one of these, you saw Avante here on stage, every single one of them really poured their heart in to helping us make such a great release. And I thank them dearly for not just helping us test out this product, especially as partners, helping us leverage and give great stories about how they are helping their customers with this product. So, guess what? We got a conference coming. We're here at Ignite next March. I'm proud to announce a new SQL Con just for you. It's going to be associated with Fabric Conference in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm going to be there. Other experts from Microsoft and the community are also going to be there. If you've not seen this yet, you want to sign up, take a look at that QR code for a discount. Here's the website you're listening to. Look more and hear from a lot from myself and folks like Anna Hoffman to talk about this great event coming next spring. So, we have completed successfully our journey to deliver SQL 2025 to you. But your journey is just starting. Your journey is just starting to go use AI technologies, or the new developer features, or mirror with Fabric, or go explore all the 40+ new engine features, connect with Arc, use a new SSMS, or even go and find out how can use managed disaster recovery with managed instance link. We believe we've poured a lot and so much into this release, and we've done it based a lot on your customer feedback. Now, I know you want resources, and there's a lot. Oh, there's a shameless plug. Somebody wrote a book. So if you'd like, there's a new book out, SQL Server 2020 Unveiled. I'd love for you to take a look at it and give your feedback. But we have blogs. Download it today. Great job by our documentation team pouring all the details in there. Look at in the middle there. I've got all the decks out there, the demos for you. We have videos for you. And take a look at our new Learn Challenge. Go get a new badge from Microsoft Learn and go took what you learned today and go through the learning modules to dive deeper into SQL Server 2020-25. I really mean it sincerely. Thank you. So I'm so overwhelmed by the flood of people in this room, and I'm sure tons of people online listening. Thank you so much for pouring your heart to make this such a great release. We're just starting this journey with you, and I can't wait for you to try it out. I hope you enjoy the rest of your time here at Microsoft Ignite. Thank you.